What if I told you that the key to lasting peace, true power, and real purpose isn't about controlling the chaos around you, but mastering the chaos within you? We're all constantly trying to manipulate the world outside, fixing problems, changing people, battling situations. But here's the truth. No matter how much you fight the world, it's never going to bend to your will. The only thing you can truly control is your mind, your actions, your reactions. This isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. It's the core teaching of Stoicism, a philosophy that has guided some of the most powerful minds in history, men like Marcus Aurelius, who led an empire yet found peace amidst war and chaos. He knew that the true battle wasn't out there. It was within. And if you can master yourself, nothing in life will have the power to knock you down. If this idea resonates with you, then you're already taking the first step toward reclaiming your peace and power. So if you're ready to embrace this radical shift in perspective, to challenge the way you've always thought about control and peace, then please subscribe. This journey is about committing to your growth and transformation. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, whether it's the endless barrage of notifications, the weight of social expectations, or the pressure to always be doing something. The external world feels overwhelming at times, doesn't it? We often spend so much of our energy fighting against it. We fight traffic, we argue with others, we complain about situations that seem beyond our control, wishing for things to be different. It feels like we're in a constant battle, hoping that somehow, if we try hard enough, we can change the course of events and finally find peace. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The external world will never bend to our will. You can't control the weather, you can't change the actions of other people, and you certainly can't make the world a perfect place. The only thing you truly have control over is how you respond to what happens around you. The world outside doesn't define you. It's how you handle it that shapes your reality. Marcus Aurelius knew this better than anyone. In the midst of constant war, political intrigue, and plagues that threatened his empire, he found peace not in controlling the world, but in mastering his own responses. He understood that while we can't control the storms of life, we can control whether we let those storms destroy us. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he wrote. That simple truth has the power to change everything. When you accept this, it's like gaining a superpower, the ability to stay centered, calm, and strong, no matter what life throws your way. This doesn't mean pretending that everything is fine when it isn't, or suppressing your emotions. It means acknowledging that while life can be unpredictable, you have the ultimate power to choose how you respond. Instead of getting lost in frustration or anger, you can decide to approach the situation with clarity and purpose. This is where your peace begins. By mastering your reactions, you stop letting the external world dictate your inner state. This is where true power lies, not in changing the world, but in changing yourself. Every time you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by circumstances, take a moment to step back and remind yourself that you control your reactions. The events in your life are not the enemy. How you respond to them is. It's easy to get caught in the illusion that everything around you needs to change for you to feel at peace, but that's not true. The real change begins with you. Once you start mastering your own thoughts and reactions, you'll start to notice that the things that once seemed impossible to handle don't have the same power over you anymore. Life will always present challenges. You can't avoid them. But what you can do is decide how you engage with them. The next time you're faced with a difficult situation, pause. Take a breath. Remember that you have the ability to choose your response. This doesn't mean you won't feel discomfort, frustration, or disappointment. It means that those feelings don't have to control you. You are not your emotions. You are the one who decides how to act in the face of them. This is your power, your freedom, and with this, you begin to transform the way you live your life. It's tempting to think that peace comes from external circumstances aligning perfectly, but that's a trap. The world will never be perfect, and if you keep waiting for it to be, you'll miss the opportunity to cultivate peace within yourself. Stoicism teaches us that peace isn't found in perfect circumstances, it's found in how we face those circumstances. By focusing on what you can control, your mind, your responses, your actions, you create an inner strength that allows you to remain unshaken no matter what happens around you. This is the core of Stoic philosophy, the realization that true power lies not in changing the world, but in mastering the world within you. And once you do that, you'll find that the world outside begins to have less influence on your happiness and peace. Your peace becomes something that no external event can take away. It's no longer dependent on what's happening around you. It's anchored in your ability to choose how you engage with the world. This is the first step towards freedom. The next time you feel yourself pulled into frustration or anger by something outside of your control, take a moment to remind yourself of this powerful truth. You control your reactions. The storm might rage around you, but you have the power to choose whether you let it sweep you away. When you make this shift, everything begins to change. The world outside may stay the same, but your peace and strength will become unshakable. Now, as you reflect on this, consider how often you've spent energy trying to control what's beyond your reach. Imagine how much energy you would free up by simply choosing to focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your responses, your actions. Imagine how different your life would be if, every time something beyond your control arose, you made a choice to focus on yourself instead of the external circumstances. This, at its core, is the practice of Stoicism. It's not about rejecting the world around you, but about changing your inner world. The power to transform your life is always within you. You don't need to change the storm. You need to change how you react to it. When you make this shift, your world will transform. And once you realize this, you'll find that the peace, power, and purpose you've been searching for were always within your grasp. How often do we find ourselves trying to control everything around us? Think about it for a moment. We spend so much of our time wishing people would act differently, hoping for situations to unfold in our favor, and fighting against things that are simply beyond our control. We struggle to change outcomes, even though we know deep down that we can't. And yet, we keep doing it. We keep wasting our energy battling the uncontrollable, thinking that if we just try hard enough, we can make the world bend to our will. But what if I told you that the first step to freedom isn't about changing the world? It's about letting go of the need to control it. Real freedom comes when you stop clinging to things you can never influence. It's about realizing that the more tightly you hold on to the idea that you should control everything, the more you trap yourself in frustration and anxiety. Instead of focusing on what you can't change, what if you put your energy into what you can control? Your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, those are yours. When you realize this simple truth, peace begins to settle in. You stop wasting energy on the futile task of controlling the uncontrollable, and you start channeling that energy into something much more empowering: controlling yourself. This concept is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus made it clear that freedom is found not in changing the world, but in understanding what is within your control and what is not. He said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And isn't that true? How often do we create stories in our heads about what could happen or what should happen, only to find that reality doesn't match our expectations? Those imagined struggles, those scenarios we obsess over, only cause us more stress. But when we focus on what's actually within our control, our thoughts, our responses, our actions, suddenly we're no longer slaves to the world's unpredictability. Imagine for a moment, you're stuck in traffic, you're running late, the cars are moving slowly, and frustration builds up inside you. You wish the driver in front of you would speed up, or that the traffic light would turn green, or that the world would somehow align to fit your timeline. But here's the harsh reality. None of that is in your hands. You cannot control the traffic, the other drivers, or the flow of events. So why continue battling something that's out of your control? The truth is, you don't have to. In that moment, the power lies in your response. You can choose to stay calm, take a deep breath, and reframe the situation. You can decide that the world doesn't need to change for you to find peace. The traffic will eventually clear. The light will eventually turn green. But your peace, that's yours to control right now, in this very moment. This shift in perspective is liberating. It's a reminder that we don't need to bend the world to our will to find happiness. We simply need to accept what is and focus on how we respond. When we let go of the need to control everything, we free ourselves from the constant struggle. We reclaim our peace, and with that peace comes the freedom to live in alignment with our values and our purpose. We stop letting external circumstances dictate our inner world, and we start choosing how we react to those circumstances. Now, I know this is easier said than done. We live in a world that constantly tells us we should have more control. We're conditioned to believe that success and happiness come from being in charge of everything, our careers, our relationships, our lives. But this need for control only leads to anxiety, stress, and burnout. The more we try to manage things that are beyond us, the more overwhelmed we become. So how do we break free from this cycle? The first step is simple, though not always easy: acceptance. Accept that there are things in life you simply cannot control, and then make a conscious choice to stop resisting them. This doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means acknowledging reality and deciding to focus on what's truly yours to shape: your responses, your attitude, your choices. It's about releasing the grip on things you can't change and turning inward where your true power lies. When you let go of control, you open up space for growth, for peace, and for clarity. You stop wasting energy on the impossible and start investing it in the only thing that can make a real difference: yourself. You have the power to shape your mindset, to choose how you respond to adversity, and to act in alignment with your values. And that's where true freedom lies. It lies in knowing that you don't need to control everything around you. All you need to do is control your own mind and actions. When you do that, the world outside starts to shift, not because you've changed it, but because your relationship with it has changed. This idea is both liberating and empowering. It's a call to stop letting the world dictate how you feel, how you act, or how you respond. It's about realizing that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the one who decides how to engage with them. This is the first step to real freedom, letting go of control. And when you do, you'll find that peace isn't something you have to fight for. It's something you already have, waiting for you to recognize it. So the next time you feel the urge to control a situation, ask yourself, what is in my control here? Is it the situation? Number, is it how I respond? Yes. The moment you make this shift, you free yourself from the burden of control. You stop battling the world and start embracing it as it is. And in doing so, you unlock the power to create the life you want, not by changing the world, but by changing yourself. We live in a world full of noise. Everywhere we turn, there's someone telling us what we should do, how we should act, or what we should be. We're constantly bombarded by society's expectations of how we should look, how we should feel, and what success should look like. This constant noise can easily drown out the things that really matter. It distracts us, pulls us in 1,000 different directions, and leaves us feeling exhausted and disconnected from what's truly important. But here's the thing, none of this external noise should have the power to define who we are or what we value. The truth is, what shapes your life, what shapes your happiness, is not the outside world at all. It's the way you choose to view it. If you take a step back and look at your life, really look at it, you'll see something incredibly important. The way you view everything is what makes all the difference. It's not what happens to you that determines your peace or your success. It's how you interpret and respond to those events. You may not have control over every situation, but you do have control over how you see those situations. Imagine how much peace you could find if you shifted your perspective. Instead of focusing on everything that's out of your control, what if you focused on what is in your control? What if you put your energy into changing how you respond to the world, rather than trying to change the world itself? Carl Jung once said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises." This powerful statement reminds us that the external world is not a reflection of who we are, but how we engage with it is. It's easy to get caught in the trap of thinking that if only things were different, if we had more money, more approval, more success, then we'd be happy. But this is a false belief. The peace you seek is not found in the world changing. It's found in the way you choose to see the world. When you shift your perspective, when you start to focus on what's within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, everything else begins to fall into place. You no longer waste energy fighting against what you can't change. Instead, you learn to flow with the current of life, responding to challenges with calm, clarity, and purpose. Life becomes less of a battle and more of a dance that you control. Take, for instance, the moments when you feel overwhelmed or frustrated. Maybe something didn't go as planned, or someone didn't meet your expectations. The world is full of situations that can trigger negative emotions, disappointments, anger, confusion. But what if you stopped viewing those moments as obstacles? What if you saw them as opportunities to learn, to grow, to practice patience and resilience? The key to overcoming adversity is not changing the situation, but changing the way you approach it. If you can shift your mindset, if you can view challenges as stepping stones rather than roadblocks, you'll find that your entire experience of life changes. This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius understood. He ruled an empire filled with constant war, plague, and political unrest, yet he found peace not in changing the world around him, but in changing his response to it. In his meditations, he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." It's a simple yet profound truth. Your happiness isn't determined by the events that happen to you. It's determined by how you choose to interpret and respond to those events. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your life. Imagine the freedom that comes from this realization. What if you stopped waiting for the world to be perfect before you allowed yourself to feel at peace? What if you realized that the world will always be chaotic, always unpredictable, always imperfect, and that the only thing you have control over is how you respond? That's where true peace lies, not in waiting for the world to change, but in changing the way you engage with it. This is the secret that the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, understood. Peace comes not from the outside world aligning with our desires, but from aligning ourselves with the world as it is. Take a moment to think about how much energy you spend trying to control things that you have no influence over. Maybe it's a conversation you wish had gone differently, or a situation that didn't meet your expectations. It's easy to get caught up in these frustrations, but what would happen if you stopped fighting them? What if you accepted that the only thing you have power over is your own response? This doesn't mean resigning yourself to apathy or inaction. It means accepting what you can't change and choosing to act with wisdom and calm in the face of it. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." How many times have you imagined a situation going terribly wrong, only to find that reality was far less catastrophic than your fears? We often create stories in our minds about how things will unfold, and when those stories don't match reality, we suffer unnecessarily. The key to freeing yourself from this cycle of imagined suffering is perspective. When you change how you view a situation, you change how you feel about it. Instead of seeing every challenge as a threat, start seeing it as a lesson, an opportunity for growth. When you shift your perspective, the situation itself may not change, but your experience of it will. The world is always going to throw obstacles in your way. People will disappoint you, things will not go as planned, and life will rarely unfold the way you expect. But if you can master the art of perspective, if you can learn to control how you view the world, you'll find that you no longer need to fight against it. You can start to work with it, adapt to it, and find peace in the flow of life. So how do you begin to shift your perspective? Start by paying attention to your thoughts. When something doesn't go your way, ask yourself, what can I control here? How can I choose to respond? Shift your focus from what's out of your hands to what's in your power. Is there something you can learn from the situation? Can you practice patience or gratitude or resilience? Every moment is an opportunity to reframe your perspective and choose a more empowering response. In doing so, you'll find that the world, though imperfect, becomes a little more manageable. Life stops feeling like an endless struggle, and instead, it becomes a journey you can navigate with calm and purpose. This shift in perspective doesn't just change how you experience challenges, it changes how you experience life as a whole. Instead of seeing the world as something that happens to you, you begin to see it as something you can actively shape through the way you respond. This is the real power we have, the ability to choose how we engage with the world. And when you take that power back, you'll find that life starts to align itself in ways you never thought possible. Peace, fulfillment, and joy aren't dependent on the world around you. They're dependent on how you see and respond to the world. When you take control of your perspective, you take control of your life. Strength is not something that's handed to you. It's not something that magically appears when things go right. In fact, true strength doesn't come from the easy days, the smooth moments, or the calm seas. It's forged in the toughest of circumstances, in the fires of adversity. When life throws hardship your way, the natural response is often to resist it, to wish it away, or to complain about how unfair it all is. But here's the truth. That hardship, that struggle, is the very thing that has the potential to shape you into a stronger, more resilient person. It's easy to look at a difficult situation and feel defeated. We've all been there, feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges, thinking that it's too much to bear. But the Stoics, those ancient philosophers who understood the human condition better than most, had a radically different perspective. They didn't see hardship as something to fear or avoid. They saw it as an opportunity to build inner strength, to grow, and to develop resilience. They called this process training. Just as a warrior trains with weights, a muscle that's torn down in the gym only to grow back stronger, adversity serves as the perfect training ground for the soul. The key is in how you view the struggle. When things get tough, it's easy to feel like life is working against you, that the universe is conspiring to bring you down. But what if we flip that narrative? What if we embraced the hard times as opportunities to rise rather than obstacles to our peace? When you see adversity as a challenge to overcome rather than something to fear, you begin to see growth in even the most difficult moments. Instead of running from discomfort, you face it head-on, knowing that with each trial you are becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. This shift in perspective is powerful. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very things that seem to be obstacles are actually the things that can propel you forward, if you let them. The storm doesn't determine your strength. Your response to the storm does. How you react, how you handle adversity, is what ultimately shapes who you are. In life, things won't always go according to plan. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will throw you off course. But these things are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to teach you how to endure, how to stay true to your values, and how to rise above what life throws your way. When you embrace hardship as a tool for growth, it transforms from something destructive into something that empowers you. Think of it this way: every difficulty is a chance to practice patience, to practice resilience, to practice discipline. Every setback becomes a stepping stone to greater strength. In a way, it's the challenges of life that are actually giving you the tools you need to build inner strength. You may not be able to control the challenges that come your way, but you can control how you respond to them. And that choice, the choice to rise above, to face adversity with grace and strength, is what makes you unshakable. This doesn't mean you won't feel the weight of life's hardships. It doesn't mean you won't experience pain, frustration, or disappointment. But it means you will face those challenges with a different mindset. Instead of allowing the hardships to define you or break you, you will use them as opportunities to refine your character. Instead of being overwhelmed, you'll be focused. Instead of shrinking in fear, you'll rise with courage. This is a mindset that can change everything. When you stop seeing difficulty as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher, you empower yourself in ways you never thought possible. Every hardship becomes an opportunity to grow stronger, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Think about it. If life were easy all the time, you wouldn't have the chance to build the strength that truly defines you. It's in the tough moments that your true character emerges. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." He's right. Just as a gem is polished by the roughness of a stone, you are shaped and refined by the difficulties you face. It's through these trials that you learn who you truly are, and more importantly, who you are capable of becoming. Without adversity, we stay stagnant, comfortable, but never truly strong. So, when life gets tough, when the storm rages around you, remember that your strength doesn't come from avoiding the storm. It comes from how you face it. Will you let the winds knock you down, or will you stand tall, grounded in the knowledge that every gust is just another opportunity to grow stronger? The choice is yours. Now, this doesn't mean you have to welcome hardship with open arms. No one likes pain. No one likes suffering. But it does mean that when it comes, you don't have to shrink from it. You can choose to embrace it, to learn from it, and to come out the other side stronger than you were before. The storm might rage, but your response to it will define you. It's important to remember that strength doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Just like a muscle grows stronger after each workout, your inner strength develops with every challenge you face. You won't always feel strong, you won't always feel like you have it all together, but with each step, with each difficult moment, you are building something unshakable. And eventually, you'll realize that the very thing you once feared, the difficulty itself, has become the source of your greatest power. So, the next time life hands you a challenge, instead of focusing on how unfair it is or wishing it away, try this. Shift your perspective. See it as an opportunity to build strength. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? When you do that, you stop seeing life as something to fight against, and you start seeing it as something you can work with. And in doing so, you begin to cultivate a strength that will carry you through anything. True strength isn't about having everything go right. It's about how you respond when things go wrong. It's about standing tall when life gets tough, knowing that each challenge is a chance to grow. So, embrace adversity, not as something to avoid, but as the very thing that makes you stronger. Because when you do, you'll realize that you are capable of far more than you ever thought possible. Life is unpredictable. Things happen that we can't control, unexpected challenges, disappointments, or even outright betrayals. We all face moments that test our patience, and sometimes they hit us when we least expect it. Yet, despite all of this chaos, the one thing we can always control is how we react. That's where true power lies. The secret to inner peace doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering our responses to it. Think about the last time you felt anger rise within you. Maybe it was a harsh comment from a friend, a mistake at work, or a situation that seemed unfair. You felt that heat in your chest, that urge to react, to lash out. But did it help? Did your anger change the situation or make it better in any way? Most likely it didn't. Instead, it stole your peace, clouded your judgment, and only made the moment more difficult to navigate. This is the power of our reactions. They shape our experience of the world, for better or for worse. The Stoics knew this well. They taught that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself regularly in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that it's not the external events that disturb us, it's how we choose to react to them. This simple yet profound idea is the cornerstone of inner peace. The ability to respond with calm, clarity, and control, no matter what the world throws at us, is the true source of our strength. Think about it for a second. In every situation, you have a choice. You can choose to react impulsively, allowing your emotions to drive your actions, or you can choose to pause, reflect, and respond with wisdom. That moment of choice is where your power lies. It's not about suppressing your emotions, but about learning to respond in a way that doesn't steal your peace. When you master this, you unlock the ability to stay calm, even in the most chaotic of situations. This is where inner mastery comes in. The more you practice controlling your reactions, the more naturally it becomes. You start to notice the triggers, the moments that used to set you off, and you learn to pause before you react. In that pause, you regain control. You no longer let external events dictate your emotional state. You choose how to feel, how to act, and how to engage with the world. This mastery doesn't just protect your peace, it creates it. It turns every challenge into an opportunity to practice self-discipline and resilience. Often we imagine the worst outcomes, we catastrophize situations, and we let our minds run wild with worst-case scenarios. In doing so, we rob ourselves of peace before the situation even happens. By mastering our reactions, we stop letting our minds control us. Instead, we take charge of our responses and our thoughts. We stop reacting impulsively, and we start responding with intention. Imagine how different your life would be if you could master your reactions. The next time you feel anger rise or frustration building, you'd be able to pause and choose a response that aligns with your values. Instead of losing your temper, you could respond with patience. Instead of giving in to fear, you could choose courage. This is the essence of inner strength, not in being unaffected by the world, but in choosing how to respond to it. This shift in mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, one that requires constant practice and awareness. But every time you choose to respond with calm rather than reacting impulsively, you grow stronger. You begin to notice patterns in your behavior and emotions. You start to see that many of your frustrations come from within, not from external events. This awareness is the first step in mastering your reactions. The more you practice this, the more you'll see the impact it has on your life. Your relationships improve, your stress levels decrease, and you begin to feel more in control of your emotions. You start to realize that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your experience, and in that realization lies true freedom. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This perfectly encapsulates the power of mastering our reactions. We cannot change the past, and we cannot control the future. But we can choose how we respond to each moment. We can choose to let the past define us, or we can choose to rise above it. The power to shape our lives is not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering ourselves. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the world is out to get us, that everyone and everything is against us. But that mindset only keeps us stuck in a cycle of frustration and anger. When we realize that our reactions are the key to our peace, we stop blaming the world and start taking responsibility for our own state of mind. We stop being at the mercy of external events and begin to reclaim our power. Of course, this doesn't mean we'll always get it right. There will be moments when we slip up, when we react impulsively, when we let our emotions get the best of us. And that's okay. What matters is that we keep practicing, that we keep striving to master our reactions, one moment at a time. With each practice, we get closer to the person we want to be. Someone who can face life's challenges with grace, calm, and strength. The real freedom comes from within. It's the freedom to choose how you respond, no matter what happens around you. When you master your reactions, you don't just protect your peace, you create it. You no longer depend on the world to give you what you need. You find it within yourself. This is the key to living a fulfilling, peaceful life. It's not about changing the world or making everything perfect. It's about changing how you engage with the world, how you respond to the chaos, and how you find peace in the midst of it. And when you start mastering your reactions, you'll find that everything else begins to align, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Self-awareness is often seen as the first step on the journey to personal growth. It's the foundation of everything we do and everything we become. Think about it. How can you change or improve something if you're not fully aware of what's going on inside you? The thoughts you have, the emotions you feel, the automatic reactions that come up when you're triggered, these are all part of the story you tell yourself and the life you create. And the more aware you become of these inner workings, the more power you gain over your life. When we're not aware of ourselves, it's easy to feel like life is happening to us. We go through the motions, reacting to things without thinking, letting our emotions control our actions. But when you become aware of your thoughts, emotions, and triggers, you stop being a passive participant in your own life. You begin to notice patterns in your behavior, the things that set you off, the reactions you have that aren't helpful, and you start to realize that you have the power to choose differently. The more aware you are, the less likely you are to be a victim of circumstances. Instead, you take the driver's seat in your life. Carl Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." This isn't just about understanding what's within you. It's about being conscious of how you operate, how you respond to others, and how you shape your world through your inner world. Jung believed that by understanding the parts of ourselves we often try to ignore or push away, we give ourselves the power to make conscious choices. We stop letting our unconscious habits and thoughts control us. Self-awareness opens up a whole new way of being, where we're not merely reacting to life, we're actively shaping it. Think about the last time you reacted to something without thinking. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or a comment from a friend left you feeling irritated. The automatic reaction is often one of frustration, anger, or even defensiveness. But in that moment, there's another choice you can make, a choice to pause. That moment between stimulus and reaction is where the magic happens. It's where power resides. It's in that pause that you get to decide how to respond. This doesn't mean you'll never feel frustration or that you should suppress your emotions. Emotions are natural and part of the human experience. What it means is that you stop letting those emotions control you. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause, breathe, and then respond in a way that aligns with your values, your purpose, and your goals. You stop being a victim of your impulses and start taking control of your actions. Self-awareness doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a muscle that you strengthen over time. But every time you catch yourself in an automatic reaction, you take a step toward mastery. You begin to notice the patterns in your thoughts and emotions, the ways you've been reacting without thinking. And with that awareness comes the power to change. Imagine being able to catch yourself in those moments of frustration and pause before reacting. Imagine responding with patience, with understanding, with calm, instead of letting the situation dictate your emotional state. This is where self-mastery begins. It's in those small moments, the ones where you usually let your emotions run wild, that you can make a conscious choice to respond differently. And here's the thing, the more you practice self-awareness, the easier it gets. You start to notice your triggers before they even happen. You start to realize when you're about to react, and you can step back and make a different choice. You stop being controlled by your unconscious patterns, and instead, you start consciously shaping your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you become aware of your thoughts, you start to see just how much control you have over your experience of the world. You realize that while you can't control everything that happens, you can control how you interpret and react to it. This is the key to finding peace and clarity in the midst of chaos. It's not about controlling the world around you. It's about mastering your inner world, your reactions, and your mindset. Self-awareness also helps you understand yourself on a deeper level. You begin to notice why you feel the way you do, what triggers you, and what you really want out of life. This understanding can help you make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and pursue goals that are aligned with your true values, not just what society or others expect of you. When you know yourself, you become more authentic, more confident, and more capable of living a life that is meaningful to you. The more you practice self-awareness, the more you'll notice how much of your experience is shaped by your thoughts and beliefs. You start to see that many of the struggles you face aren't because of what's happening outside of you. They're because of how you're choosing to perceive and react to those things. And once you realize that, you start to see the power you have to change your life by simply changing how you think and respond. This is where true freedom lies, not in controlling everything around you, but in controlling your response to it. When you master your reactions, you stop being at the mercy of external circumstances. You create your own peace. You stop reacting impulsively, and you start responding with intention. You choose how to show up in the world, no matter what life throws at you. And that is the power of self-awareness. But this is a lifelong process. There will always be moments where you fall back into old patterns. There will be times when you react, before you think. And that's okay. The key is to keep practicing. Each time you catch yourself, you strengthen your self-awareness muscle. Each time you pause and choose a more thoughtful response, you move closer to mastering yourself. Imagine how your life could change if you started living more consciously, if you responded to every challenge with clarity, patience, and purpose, if you stopped being swept away by your emotions and instead chose how to engage with the world. That's the power of self-awareness. It's not about being perfect or always getting it right. It's about having the ability to pause, reflect, and respond with intention. It's about creating the life you want, one conscious choice at a time. Self-awareness is the key to unlocking your true potential. It's the foundation of self-mastery, and when you have that, everything else falls into place. You stop being a passive participant in your own life, and you start taking control. You stop letting circumstances dictate your emotions, and you start creating your own reality. When you master yourself, you become unstoppable. Expectations are a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they give us something to strive for, something to look forward to. On the other hand, they often set us up for disappointment. How many times have you found yourself frustrated or heartbroken because things didn't turn out the way you expected? We expect people to behave a certain way, outcomes to unfold just as we want, and for life to be fair. But here's the reality. Life doesn't care about your expectations. It's unpredictable, it's chaotic, it's uncontrollable. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll stop suffering from the disappointment that comes with expecting the world to meet your demands. Think about it. How much of your stress comes from expectations that others don't live up to, or from situations that don't align with your hopes? We constantly build mental models of how things should be, and when they don't match, we feel let down. We think, this isn't fair, this isn't right, this isn't how it was supposed to go. But in reality, these unmet expectations are not the problem. The problem is the attachment we place on them. When we attach our happiness to how things should be, we open ourselves up to constant disappointment. The key to freedom, then, is learning to let go of these expectations. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." In other words, the more we resist the flow of life, trying to force it into our limited expectations, the more we disconnect from the deeper truth of who we are. We cannot force life to be exactly how we want it. The world is far too complex, too unpredictable for that. When we cling to expectations, we're fighting against the natural course of things, and in doing so, we not only lose our peace, but also lose touch with reality itself. Expectations create a gap between the life we want and the life we have, and in that gap, we find frustration, bitterness, and dissatisfaction. The beauty of letting go of expectations is that it frees us from this constant cycle of struggle. You may think that expectations give you a sense of control over your life, but in truth, they only leave you vulnerable to disappointment. By releasing them, you take back your power. You stop trying to control outcomes, and instead, you start accepting things as they are, with grace and humility. It doesn't mean you stop having goals or desires. It just means you no longer demand that life unfold exactly the way you imagine it will. When you let go of expectations, you make space for things to unfold as they should, which often turns out to be far better than you could have ever planned. This mindset isn't about passivity. It's not about resigning yourself to whatever happens, nor is it about being complacent. Rather, it's about engaging with life from a place of acceptance rather than resistance. The difference is subtle, but it's powerful. Acceptance doesn't mean you don't work hard. It doesn't mean you stop trying to improve your life. It simply means you stop fighting against life when it doesn't go your way. Instead of fighting the flow, You learn how to navigate it. You begin to understand that everything, both the good and the bad, is part of a larger picture that you may not always see in the moment. This shift can be transformative. When you stop expecting specific outcomes, you open yourself up to the possibility of things turning out in unexpected ways. The truth is, life often offers us something better than what we envisioned, but we miss it because we're so fixated on the outcome we thought we wanted. Think of the times when things didn't go according to plan. And yet, in hindsight, you saw how everything worked out perfectly. Life has a way of doing that. It forces us to let go of our narrow vision and embrace something more expansive, more fulfilling, and often more aligned with our true desires. The sooner we stop trying to force life into our expectations, the sooner we start to see the beauty in the unpredictability. Imagine the peace that would come if you could accept every moment, not as something you must control or mold into perfection, but as it is. Imagine the freedom you'd feel if you could stop holding on to how things should be and instead flow with the way things actually are. It's a powerful shift, and one that leads to peace, clarity, and fulfillment. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean that you stop having hopes or desires. It simply means that you stop tying your happiness to specific outcomes. You start to realize that the present moment is all you truly have. You can make plans, set goals, and take action, but the rest is beyond your control. Life is unpredictable by nature, and when you embrace this, you stop fighting it and start moving with it. You learn to accept the flow, trusting that whatever comes your way is exactly what you need, even if it's not what you expected. We imagine all the ways things could go wrong, all the ways life could disappoint us. We build expectations based on our fears and desires, and when reality doesn't match up to those expectations, we suffer. But in reality, much of what we fear doesn't actually come to pass. And even when things don't go as planned, they often unfold in ways that are far more enriching than we could have anticipated. The process of letting go of expectations isn't easy. It requires a deep level of self-awareness and the courage to face life as it is, without trying to shape it into something it's not. It means accepting that life is messy, uncertain, and sometimes even unfair. But when we stop fighting it, when we stop demanding that it fit into the narrow mold we've created, we open ourselves to something greater: peace. By releasing the need for things to go exactly the way we want them to, we invite a sense of freedom and contentment into our lives. And that freedom allows us to truly experience the present moment, to appreciate what we have, and to find joy in the journey, regardless of where it leads. When you stop expecting life to be perfect, you begin to see it for what it truly is: a series of beautiful, messy moments that offer opportunities for growth, learning, and connection. The more you embrace this, the more peace you'll find. The key to happiness is not in trying to control every aspect of your life. It's in letting go of the need to control and learning to flow with the changes that come your way. And when you do, everything else starts to fall into place. We all know the feeling, this constant chase. We chase success, we chase approval, we chase happiness, thinking that somewhere down the road, once we get there, everything will fall into place. It's like we're running after something, desperate to catch it, only to realize that no matter how fast we run, we can never quite catch what we're seeking. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to strive, to hustle, to chase the next big thing. But here's the truth. The secret to fulfillment doesn't lie in that endless pursuit. It lies in living fully in the moment, right where you are, with what you already have. Think about the times when you found yourself caught up in the chase, whether it was for a promotion, a certain lifestyle, or the approval of others. It's easy to get lost in that chase, believing that if you could just reach your goal, everything would be perfect. But every time you get close, you realize that the finish line keeps moving. That goal, that dream, that elusive something always seems just out of reach. It's like a mirage. The more you chase it, the farther it seems to go. The truth is that constant chasing leaves you exhausted, anxious, and unfulfilled. The more you focus on what's ahead, the more you miss what's right in front of you. Your character, your presence, your ability to act, all of these are sources of true power. When you shift your focus from chasing external goals to embracing your inner strengths, you stop running. You stop feeling like you're missing something. You realize that the life you're looking for is not somewhere in the future. It's right here, right now. The constant chase feeds into a mindset of scarcity. We think we need something more money, more success, more recognition to be happy. But what if the opposite is true? What if we stopped focusing on what's missing and started appreciating what we already have? What if we stopped looking for fulfillment outside ourselves and started living fully with what's within our reach? This doesn't mean you stop setting goals or pursuing growth. It means you stop relying on those things for your happiness and peace. You start to realize that you are already enough right now. So much of our dissatisfaction comes from the belief that we need to acquire something, whether it's status, material possessions, or the approval of others, to be complete. But the truth is, nothing external can fill an internal void. When you rely on external validation to define your worth, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. People will come and go, opportunities will appear and fade, but your inner world is the only thing that's constant. The more you look to external sources for validation, the more you will feel like something is missing. But when you stop chasing, when you embrace what you already have within you, you realize that everything you need is already there. Imagine the peace you'd feel if you stopped the endless chase. What if you stopped worrying about what others think of you or whether you've achieved enough? What if you focused on living fully in the present, on experiencing life exactly as it is, with no need to constantly measure yourself against some distant standard? When you shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance, you begin to feel a deep sense of peace. You realize that the present moment, with all its imperfections, is enough. You stop seeking outside yourself, and instead you start embracing who you are and what you have right now. This doesn't mean you stop pursuing your passions, your goals, or your dreams. It means you stop tying your happiness and fulfillment to them. It's about realizing that the journey itself is where life happens. When you're so focused on the destination, you miss the beauty of the journey. You miss the lessons, the growth, the connections, and the moments that make life meaningful. The chase robs you of the ability to enjoy the present moment, to savor what's happening right now. But when you stop chasing, you start to see life through a different lens. You begin to live with intention and mindfulness, and that's where true fulfillment lies. Living fully in the moment isn't about rejecting ambition or not caring about the future. It's about shifting your focus from an obsessive pursuit of external goals to an appreciation for the present. It's about engaging with life as it is, rather than constantly striving for something else. The more you live in the present, the more you realize that everything you need, your strength, your joy, your peace, is already here. It's not in some distant goal. It's in the way you show up every day, in the way you respond to life's challenges, in the way you embrace who you are right now. So much of our time is spent chasing something, more success, more wealth, more recognition, and in doing so, we forget to live. We waste the precious time we have by focusing on what's ahead rather than appreciating the moment we're in. True fulfillment doesn't come from chasing something external. It comes from being fully present, from experiencing life exactly as it is, without the constant need to measure it against some future ideal. The power of living fully in the moment lies in embracing what you have, not what you lack. The more you appreciate your own presence, your own character, and the ability to act in the present moment, the more you'll realize that the chase was never the key to fulfillment. You've been running after something that was always within you. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you start living, truly living. You stop waiting for your life to be perfect, and instead you embrace it as it is. When you stop chasing, you stop letting the external world dictate your sense of worth. You stop measuring your value by achievements or the opinions of others, and instead, you begin to realize that your value is inherent, not dependent on anything outside yourself. You start to live with purpose, not because you're trying to prove something, but because you know you're already enough. You don't need to chase anything. All you need to do is embrace what you already have: your character, your presence, your ability to act. When you do that, you stop running and start living, fully and completely. And that's where true fulfillment lies. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. It's simple yet transformative, and it has the ability to change the way we experience life. In a world where we're constantly told that we need more success, more possessions, more validation, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that happiness lies in acquiring what we don't have. But here's the truth. Gratitude is the key to finding peace and contentment right where we are. It turns what we have into enough. It shifts our focus from scarcity to abundance, and when we begin to see the world through this lens, everything changes. Imagine for a moment that you woke up today and decided that everything you had, your health, your relationships, your circumstances, was a gift. Imagine looking at your life and appreciating the little things, the warmth of your bed, the comfort of a hot meal, the laughter of a friend. Suddenly life feels different, doesn't it? Instead of focusing on what's missing or what's not perfect, you're overwhelmed with gratitude for what you already have. This shift in perspective changes everything. When you start practicing gratitude, you start seeing the abundance in your life rather than the lack. Carl Jung once said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others." This statement is profound. Gratitude is the foundation upon which all other positive emotions and virtues are built. When you cultivate gratitude, it opens the door to other feelings like compassion, kindness, and love. It's the antidote to longing, the cure for the "I need more" mindset that so often holds us back. When you stop yearning for what you don't have and start appreciating what you do, you begin to shift your life in ways that are profound and deeply fulfilling. This shift is powerful because it allows you to focus on what's within your control, your mindset, your attitude, and your perspective. So often we spend our time chasing things, chasing success, chasing approval, chasing material possessions, as if these things will finally bring us happiness. But in doing so, we neglect to see what's right in front of us. We forget to appreciate the things that truly matter: our health, our relationships, our time. And by failing to appreciate these things, we miss out on the abundance that's already in our lives. Gratitude changes that. It pulls our attention away from the future and brings us into the present moment. It reminds us that everything we need to be content is already here, already in our lives. When you take a moment each day to reflect on what you're grateful for, you start to notice how rich your life truly is. It's not about waiting for something big to happen or achieving a specific goal. It's about recognizing that the small things, the everyday moments, hold incredible value. The truth is, life is not always perfect. We all face challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. But when we approach these challenges with a mindset of gratitude, we begin to see them differently. Instead of seeing them as burdens, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Gratitude helps us to find meaning even in difficult situations because it reminds us that everything we experience, good or bad, is part of the human experience. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. Gratitude also helps us to shift our focus from what we don't have to what we do. How often do we get caught up in the idea that happiness is something we have to chase, something that lies just beyond our reach? But the reality is, happiness is not a destination, it's a state of mind. When we focus on what we're grateful for, we cultivate a sense of contentment, of peace, right where we are. We stop waiting for something to change or for something external to happen before we can feel fulfilled. We realize that the life we're living right now, with all its imperfections, is enough. This shift is subtle, but it's incredibly powerful. The more you practice gratitude, the more you start to notice how much you have to be thankful for. And as you start to notice these things, you begin to feel a sense of abundance rather than scarcity. You stop focusing on what's missing and start appreciating what's already here. It's in this shift that true fulfillment lies. When you start seeing the richness of your life in every moment, you stop yearning for what's out of reach, and instead, you begin to find peace in the present. The practice of gratitude is not just about saying thank you for the big things in life. It's about noticing the small, everyday gifts that we often overlook. It's about appreciating the beauty in the mundane, the way the sun shines through your window, the warmth of a cup of coffee in the morning, the sound of birds chirping outside. These simple moments, when recognized and appreciated, can bring a sense of deep fulfillment. When we make gratitude a daily practice, we train our minds to notice the good in every situation, no matter how small. Gratitude also has a profound impact on our relationships. When we focus on what we're grateful for in the people around us, we begin to cultivate deeper connections. We stop taking others for granted and start seeing them as the gifts they are. We appreciate their presence, their love, and their support. This shift in perspective not only strengthens our relationships, but also brings a greater sense of peace and contentment to our lives. When we practice gratitude, we open our hearts to others, and in doing so, we create a sense of abundance in our relationships as well. But perhaps the most powerful impact of gratitude is how it transforms our inner world. When we shift from focusing on what we lack to what we have, we change the way we see ourselves. We stop measuring our worth by external achievements and start recognizing our intrinsic value. We appreciate who we are, where we are, and what we've already accomplished. This sense of self-appreciation breeds confidence, self-love, and a deeper sense of peace. We stop waiting for someone else to validate us, and instead, we validate ourselves through the simple act of gratitude. Gratitude is a practice that transforms every area of your life. It changes the way you experience the world, the way you interact with others, and the way you see yourself. It turns what you have into enough, and in doing so, it unlocks the door to true fulfillment. The more you practice gratitude, the more you'll realize that everything you need to live a meaningful, fulfilling life is already within you. And when you recognize this, life begins to feel different. Discipline. It's a word that often gets a bad rap. We tend to think of it as restrictive, like it's something that takes away our freedom. It sounds like a punishment, something that forces us to adhere to rules and structure we don't necessarily want. But the truth is, discipline isn't about restriction. It's about freedom, real freedom. It's the freedom to create the life you truly want by mastering yourself. It's the freedom to live on your own terms, to make choices that align with your values and goals. instead of being ruled by fleeting desires and emotions. At its core, discipline is the ability to control your impulses. Think about it. How many times have you acted impulsively only to regret it later? Maybe you ate something you didn't really want, or you spent time doing something that didn't bring you closer to your goals. We've all been there. It's easy to give in to our desires in the moment, but every time we do, we give up a little piece of our freedom. We trade short-term satisfaction for long-term fulfillment, and in doing so, we lose control over our lives. Discipline is the key to taking that control back. When you master your desires and impulses, you unlock the potential to become your truest self. Without discipline, we're constantly being pulled in different directions, reacting to external circumstances and our immediate cravings. But when we cultivate discipline, we stop being a slave to our impulses. We begin to act with intention, not reaction. We start living with purpose instead of simply existing. Discipline isn't about following someone else's rules or living a life of strict conformity. It's not about depriving yourself or punishing yourself for mistakes. It's about creating the space to make choices that lead to your greater good. It's about making decisions that align with who you want to be, rather than who you've been conditioned to be. And once you start practicing this kind of discipline, it brings a profound sense of freedom. You're no longer controlled by your immediate desires. Instead, you're guided by your deeper values and long-term vision. This is where true freedom comes from, self-mastery. When you master discipline, you master yourself. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it. The ability to say no to short-term gratification and yes to long-term goals is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. And once you have that skill, nothing can stop you. The world may try to pull you in different directions, but you'll remain grounded. Your goals will remain clear, and your actions will be intentional. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem to have their lives together, who are calm under pressure, and who seem to always be in control. What do they have in common? Chances are they've mastered the art of discipline. They've learned to control their impulses, to say no when necessary, and to stay focused on what truly matters. And because of that, they've built lives of freedom. Freedom to pursue their passions, freedom to make decisions that align with their values, and freedom to live without being ruled by their emotions or desires. The irony is that discipline gives us more freedom than we ever imagined. It might seem like a restriction at first, but once you experience the freedom that comes from self-mastery, you realize that it's the most liberating thing you can do. Discipline gives you the power to choose your own path. It allows you to break free from the chains of impulsive decisions, and it opens up a world of possibilities. Instead of being pulled in 1,000 different directions, you can walk with confidence in the direction you've chosen. That's the kind of freedom that discipline brings. But this kind of discipline doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a habit that must be cultivated over time. It starts small. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier, sticking to a workout routine, or saying no to something you don't really want to do. These small acts of discipline build momentum, and over time, they lead to bigger wins. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. You start to see the benefits of discipline in every area of your life, your health, your relationships, your career, and the sense of freedom that comes with it becomes more and more apparent. The key to discipline is consistency. It's not about perfection, it's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. The more consistent you are, the more control you gain over your life. And with that control comes the freedom to shape your future, rather than being shaped by circumstances. The truth is, you can't control everything that happens to you. Life is unpredictable, and things won't always go according to plan. But the one thing you can control is your response, And that response, guided by discipline, determines the outcome of your life. This is the real power of discipline. It's not about restricting yourself. It's about giving yourself the freedom to become who you're meant to be. It's about choosing your actions, your reactions, and your mindset, instead of letting them choose you. Discipline is the key to creating the life you want, and that's where true freedom lies. As you begin to embrace discipline, you'll notice that life becomes less about striving and more about flowing. You'll stop fighting against yourself, against your impulses, and against the world. Instead, you'll learn to work with it, to make choices that align with your deeper values. And in doing so, you'll experience a sense of freedom that you've never known before. Freedom to create, to act, to live, and to be the person you've always wanted to be. In today's world, it feels like we're constantly seeking approval from others. Whether it's through likes on a post, followers on social media, or simply looking for validation from the people around us, it's easy to lose sight of who we truly are. We've been conditioned to think that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. But here's the truth. The only approval that truly matters is your own. When you stop seeking validation from external sources and start validating yourself, everything shifts. For most of us, validation feels like a form of reassurance. It's like a safety net that says, you're doing okay, you're worthy, you're good enough. But here's the catch. No amount of external validation will ever make you feel truly secure in who you are. If you place your self-worth in the hands of others, you give them power over your peace. Every time someone doesn't like your post or give you the recognition you're hoping for, you feel that sting. But if you can learn to validate yourself, to recognize your own worth without needing anyone else's approval, you take back your power. When we seek approval from others, we're often trying to fit into a mold that isn't truly us. We mold ourselves to meet expectations, to fit in, or to gain favor. But when we stop seeking approval and start validating ourselves, we break free from that mold. We give ourselves permission to be exactly who we are, no more and no less. And in that permission lies true freedom. The need for external validation stems from a deep-seated fear of not being enough, of not measuring up, of being judged. This fear is something we all experience at different points in our lives. It's human to want to be liked, to want to belong, and to want to feel valued. But when we constantly seek approval from others, we surrender our own sense of self-worth. We begin to depend on their perceptions to define who we are. This makes us vulnerable, because no matter how hard we try, we will never be able to control how others see us. Someone might like what we're doing one day and not the next. They might praise us today, but criticize us tomorrow. If our worth is tied to their opinions, we're left feeling unstable and uncertain. The key to breaking free from this cycle is to look inward. It's about learning to validate yourself, not based on what others think of you, but based on your own intrinsic value. It's about recognizing that you are enough as you are, without needing to change or adapt to meet the expectations of others. The moment you stop seeking validation from the outside and start validating yourself, your sense of self-worth becomes unshakable. You stop allowing the opinions of others to dictate how you feel about yourself. It's not easy to shift from seeking approval to validating yourself. We've been conditioned for so long to look to others for reassurance that it can feel unnatural at first. But when you begin to truly accept yourself, to see your value from within, everything starts to change. The need for external validation begins to fade away, and in its place, you discover a deeper sense of peace. You stop measuring your worth by how others see you, and instead, you measure it by how you see yourself. Think about the last time you felt really good about yourself, not because of what someone else said or did, but because you simply accepted who you are. Maybe it was a moment when you felt proud of something you accomplished, or a time when you felt content with where you were in life. That moment wasn't defined by anyone else's approval. It came from within. It was a recognition of your own worth, independent of outside opinions. That's the kind of validation that lasts, the kind that comes from within. The more you practice this kind of self-validation, the easier it becomes. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never feeling doubt or insecurity, but it's about recognizing that those feelings don't define you. You are more than your doubts. You are more than the opinions of others. And the more you remind yourself of this, the more confident and grounded you become. The moment you stop chasing approval from others, you open the door to authenticity. You stop pretending to be someone you're not in order to meet external expectations. Instead, you embrace who you are, flaws and all, and begin to live a life that's true to you. This is the foundation of true freedom. You no longer have to wear a mask to conform or to constantly seek the approval of others. You simply are. Self-validation is also about recognizing your own achievements, no matter how small they may seem. It's about celebrating your efforts and your growth. Too often we focus on what we haven't done or where we still need to improve. But every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. And those victories matter. When you start validating your progress, you build confidence. You see that you're capable, that you're growing, and that you're enough just as you are. True fulfillment comes when you stop looking to others to tell you that you're worthy. It comes when you realize that your worth is inherent, not dependent on anyone's opinion, but your own. When you give yourself permission to be who you are, you unlock the freedom to live authentically. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for yourself. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others or that you become selfish. It simply means that your sense of self-worth is no longer dictated by their opinions. You become your own source of approval. You are enough as you are. You always have been. The journey of self-validation is not about seeking perfection. It's about accepting yourself as you are and recognizing your inherent worth. When you validate yourself, you stop looking for external sources of approval. You stop measuring your value by the fleeting opinions of others. You start living authentically, and in that authenticity, you find true freedom. You might have been told that success is all about what you own or how the world sees you. Society tells us that our possessions, our social media profiles, and our external achievements define who we are. But the truth is, the one thing you will always have, no matter what happens, is yourself. Your mind, your thoughts, your actions. These are the only true assets you really own. Everything else can be taken from you. Your possessions can be lost. Your reputation can be damaged, and even your health can be challenged. But your character, your inner strength, and your ability to shape your own thoughts and actions, that's yours to build, to protect, and to grow. It is your most valuable asset. For too long, we've been conditioned to think that wealth, status, or material success is the measure of a fulfilling life. We chase promotions, buy bigger houses, and collect accolades, hoping that one day we'll reach a place of happiness. But in doing so, we forget the most important thing, the asset that can never be taken away from us: our mind. The way we think, the way we view the world, the way we handle adversity. These internal qualities are the foundation of our strength. No matter where life leads you, no one can take those away. You get to decide who you are and who you want to become. We often get caught up in external pursuits, trying to shape our outer world to fit our vision of success. But real power lies in shaping the inner world. When you cultivate self-awareness, develop your emotional intelligence and invest in personal growth, you become unstoppable. This inner work is where true value resides. Think about it. When you've reached your lowest point or faced your biggest challenges, what gets you through? It's not the things you've accumulated or the approval of others. It's your resilience, your ability to adapt, and your internal strength. These qualities, the ones you build over time, are the things that truly define your life. Everything else is fleeting, but your character, that's built to last. So, when we talk about investing in yourself, what we're really talking about is investing in your inner world. Cultivate the habits, the mindset, and the emotional tools that will allow you to navigate life with grace and strength, because that's the foundation for everything else. So, how do you begin? The first step is realizing that you are the most important project you will ever work on. The more time you invest in your personal development, your mental health, your emotional well-being, your ability to think critically, the stronger and more resilient you become. This isn't about striving for perfection, it's about progress. It's about being willing to put in the work, day after day, to develop the kind of inner strength that will see you through tough times. And it starts with small steps. Building discipline, practicing self-reflection, fostering gratitude, and embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. These are all investments that pay off, not in the short term, but over a lifetime. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to truly trust in yourself. To know that no matter what happens, you have the inner tools to handle it. The external world might change in an instant, but your ability to stay grounded and focused would remain unshaken. That is the power of investing in yourself. You can't control the storms that life throws your way, but you can control how you prepare for them, how you respond to them, and how you grow from them. Seneca understood this truth deeply when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This perspective flips our usual way of thinking about value. We're taught to chase after more wealth, more possessions, more recognition. But true wealth lies in mastering ourselves, in reducing our dependency on external validation, and in realizing that what we already have within us is enough. The more we focus on the inner world, the less we need from the outer world to feel complete. By shifting your focus from acquiring external things to strengthening your internal self, you begin to experience a kind of freedom that cannot be taken away. This is where the real value lies, within you. One of the most powerful aspects of investing in yourself is that it not only builds resilience, but also builds your capacity to help others. When you strengthen your own character, you become a better partner, friend, colleague, and leader. Your personal growth doesn't just serve you, it ripples out into every area of your life, touching the people around you. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally begin to raise the energy of those around you as well. But here's the catch. This kind of investment isn't instant. It takes time, patience, and consistent effort. There are no shortcuts to building inner strength. It's easy to focus on quick fixes, whether it's buying something new, looking for validation, or chasing the next success. But these things are temporary. True strength, the kind that doesn't falter when life gets tough, comes from within. It's the result of daily habits, mindset shifts, and the willingness to face challenges head-on. So, what can you do today to start investing in yourself? It starts with commitment. Commit to showing up for yourself every day, even when it's hard. Commit to doing the inner work that will make you stronger, even when it feels uncomfortable. Commit to building your character, knowing that this is the most valuable asset you will ever possess. As you continue to invest in yourself, you'll notice the difference in how you navigate the world. You'll find yourself less affected by external opinions, less reliant on material success, and more rooted in your own sense of purpose and peace. The more you grow internally, the more the external world begins to align with that growth. Opportunities, relationships, and circumstances begin to reflect the strength you've cultivated within. The true measure of success isn't in what you own or what others think of you. It's in the strength of your character, the depth of your integrity, and your ability to live a life true to yourself. The best part? These are assets that no one can take away. They're yours to build, to protect, and to grow for the rest of your life. We've all been there. The obsession with the outcome, the constant focus on the result. We chase after goals, achievements, and success as if the destination is the only thing that matters. Whether it's landing that dream job, reaching a specific financial milestone, or even losing weight, we've been conditioned to think that once we achieve the goal, that's when life will finally fall into place. But here's the thing. True fulfillment doesn't come from the destination. It comes from the journey. The process, the steps you take each day, is where the real magic happens. Think about it for a moment. How often do we get so focused on the end goal that we forget to enjoy the steps it takes to get there? We become fixated on what's at the finish line, constantly measuring our worth and progress by what we've yet to achieve. But this focus on the result can leave us feeling drained, overwhelmed, and unsatisfied. It's easy to get lost in the idea that once we achieve the goal, everything will be perfect. But perfection doesn't come from reaching a specific point in time. It comes from how we show up every single day. It's in the process of becoming, growing, and evolving that we discover who we truly are. It's not about rushing to the finish line or pushing ourselves to meet a particular expectation. It's about showing up each day, doing the work, and embracing the journey, no matter how long it takes. Because in the end, the person you become along the way is the real reward. When we shift our focus from the outcome to the process, we start to experience life in a whole new way. We begin to find meaning in the small, everyday actions we take, those little steps that often go unnoticed in the pursuit of something bigger. The more we focus on the process, the more we start to realize that it's not the end goal that brings fulfillment, but how we approach the journey itself. Each moment becomes an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to enjoy life as it unfolds, instead of waiting for the next milestone to feel content. It's easy to fall into the trap of measuring success by the external, by the things we can see and touch. But the truth is, success isn't something that can be defined by a single achievement. It's a way of being, a mindset, a constant process of growth and improvement. When you focus on the process, you stop waiting for success to come to you, and instead, you create it every day through your actions, your mindset, and your perseverance. You stop chasing after something that's outside of your control and start cultivating something within you that is far more powerful, a mindset of growth and self-mastery. Imagine for a moment that instead of being fixated on what you want to achieve, you focus on how you can show up in each moment. Whether it's at work, in your personal life, or in your health, focus on the process of becoming better, not on the destination. This shift in focus is liberating. It takes away the pressure of getting there and instead places the emphasis on the present moment. You're no longer waiting for the future to bring fulfillment. You're finding fulfillment in every step you take, and when you do this, the results come naturally, often without you even realizing it. This doesn't mean that goals aren't important or that you should stop working towards something you care about. Goals give us direction and purpose. But when you shift your focus to the process, you stop making your happiness contingent on reaching that one destination. You begin to enjoy the work itself, the daily practice, the small victories, and the lessons learned along the way. And when you do reach the goal, it's not a moment of relief or completion. It's a celebration of everything you've learned and the person you've become in the process. Life is a series of processes. Every goal you achieve, every challenge you face, is just a chapter in an ongoing journey. When you focus on the process, you start to see life as a series of opportunities to evolve, to refine your skills, to improve your mindset, and to become more of who you are meant to be. And in doing so, the outcome becomes a natural byproduct of your commitment to the journey. We've been taught that the goal is the prize, the thing that gives us value. But in truth, the journey is where the real prize lies. It's in the daily effort, the resilience, and the consistency that we find our strength and our growth. Success isn't a destination, it's a process. And when we embrace that process, we find that the results often come faster and more effortlessly than we ever imagined. There's something incredibly freeing about letting go of the obsession with the outcome. When we stop measuring our worth by external achievements, we start to enjoy the ride. We stop rushing through life, waiting for the next thing to happen, and instead, we start living in the present moment. This doesn't mean you give up on your goals. It means you stop letting them define you. You begin to define yourself by the way you show up each day, the way you approach life, and the way you face challenges. That's where true fulfillment lies. By focusing on the process, you also build resilience. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns. If you only focus on the end result, you may miss out on the opportunities to grow through the challenges. But when you focus on the journey, you learn to appreciate the highs and lows, knowing that every experience, good or bad, is contributing to your growth. You become more adaptable, more open to change, and more capable of handling whatever comes your way. It's this mindset that leads to lasting success, the kind that doesn't crumble when things don't go according to plan. Too often we waste time obsessing over the end goal, waiting for the future to bring us what we think we need. But life is happening right now. The present moment is the only time we truly have. And when we focus on the process, we make the most of every moment, investing in ourselves, in our growth, and in our journey. The future will take care of itself when we focus on the present. So, start today. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Shift your attention to how you show up, how you carry yourself through each day, and how you approach the journey ahead. The results will follow naturally. But even if they don't, you'll find a deeper sense of fulfillment, because the true reward was in the process all along. The world is a chaotic place. Every day it feels like there's something new to worry about: politics, social media, global crises, personal struggles. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by everything that's out of your control, and yet we often find ourselves trying to change it. We fight against the things we can't control, hoping to make the world behave the way we want it to. But here's the truth. No matter how hard we try, we can't change the world. We can't stop the storms from coming. We can't prevent the challenges from arising. And we certainly can't control other people's actions. But there's good news. While we may not have the power to change the world, we have the power to change ourselves. The world will throw challenges our way, and life will be unpredictable. But how we react to those challenges, that's where our true power lies. We can choose to be victims of circumstance, or we can choose to be masters of ourselves. It's not about controlling the chaos of the world, it's about controlling how we move through it. We all know the feeling of frustration when things don't go our way. We get upset when plans fall apart, when people don't behave the way we expect them to, or when the world just seems to be against us. And it's natural to want to change things, to fix what's wrong, to fight against the current. But this constant struggle only drains our energy and leaves us feeling defeated. The truth is, we can't change the world's course, but we can choose how we respond to it. And in that choice lies our strength. When you start focusing on mastering yourself, everything else starts to fall into place. Instead of pouring all your energy into trying to fix the world or other people, you start to direct that energy inward. You begin to control your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. You realize that your happiness and peace don't depend on the external world, but on how you navigate through it. This is where true strength lies, not in changing the world, but in changing the way you interact with it. Take a moment and think about the times when you felt out of control. Maybe it was when someone said something hurtful, or when things didn't go as planned. It's easy to let those moments consume us, to let the frustration or anger dictate our actions. But what if, in those moments, you chose to respond differently? What if you didn't let the world control your emotions, but instead chose to control how you reacted? This is the essence of self-mastery. It's not about being perfect or never feeling upset. It's about learning to respond with grace, patience, and wisdom, no matter what the world throws at you. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to change the world to find peace or happiness. We think that if we could just change other people's behavior, or if we could fix the problems around us, everything would be better. But the truth is, the world will always be unpredictable. People will always act in ways that frustrate us, and circumstances will always change. What we have control over is how we respond to those things. The more we focus on mastering our own thoughts, actions, and emotions, the less we are affected by the chaos around us. So much of our stress and frustration comes from imagining how things should be or how we wish they were. We create these stories in our minds about how the world should function, and when it doesn't meet our expectations, we suffer. But when we focus on what we can control, our own responses, we find peace. We stop wasting energy fighting against the world and start using that energy to grow, to improve, and to become the best version of ourselves. The world may be chaotic, but we don't have to let it dictate how we feel. When you shift your focus from trying to control the world to mastering yourself, you start to see how much power you really have. Your strength doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from within. It comes from your ability to stay calm in the face of chaos, to stay focused on your goals when distractions arise, and to keep moving forward despite setbacks. Life will always present challenges, but when you know that your response is within your control, those challenges become opportunities to practice your strength, your patience, and your resilience. Mastering yourself doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means recognizing that your emotions are valid, but you don't have to let them control your actions. It's about taking a step back and choosing the best response, even when the world around you feels out of control. This is where true power lies, not in controlling everything outside of you, but in knowing that you have the strength to handle whatever comes your way with wisdom, grace, and integrity. The more you practice this self-mastery, the more you'll realize that the world no longer has the power to throw you off course. You'll stop feeling like a victim of circumstances, and instead, you'll feel empowered to navigate through life's challenges with confidence and clarity. Your sense of peace and happiness will no longer be dependent on what's happening around you, but on how you choose to respond. You'll begin to realize that the greatest power you have is your ability to control your mind, your actions, and your emotions. Everything else, the chaos, the unpredictability, will no longer disturb your inner peace. In the end, the world will keep turning, and the storms will keep coming. But how you handle those storms, how you choose to stay grounded and centered, That's what defines your strength. When you master yourself, everything else starts to fall into place. The chaos of the world doesn't have to disrupt your peace. You don't need to change the world to find happiness. You just need to change the way you interact with it. In a world that's constantly changing, where external pressures seem to come from every direction, we often think that peace can only be found by changing the world around us. We believe that if we could just control our circumstances, if we could control how others treat us, how things unfold, or the challenges we face, then we would finally find peace. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering yourself. When we talk about inner peace, we're not talking about a state of calm that can be easily disrupted by life's storms. We're talking about a deep, unshakable sense of peace that comes from within. A peace that remains steady even when the world around us is anything but peaceful. Inner peace is the greatest strength you can cultivate, because when you are at peace within, nothing can truly shake you. Life can throw its worst at you: heartbreak, failure, stress, even loss. But when you have mastered the art of inner peace, you will always stand strong. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." This powerful statement speaks to the essence of what inner peace truly is. It's not something you find in the outside world. It's not something that comes from the right circumstances, the perfect job, or the ideal relationship. True peace is a product of looking inward, of understanding yourself, of becoming so connected to your inner being that nothing outside of you can disturb your sense of calm. It's when you look inward and realize that your peace is not dependent on the chaos around you, but on your response to it. That's where your strength lies. Think about the last time you faced a difficult situation. Maybe it was a conflict at work, a personal challenge, or a moment when everything seemed to be falling apart. In those moments, it's easy to feel like everything is out of control. You may find yourself getting caught up in anger, frustration, or fear, wishing you could change the external circumstances. But what if, instead of trying to change everything around you, you focused on controlling how you responded? What if you paused, took a breath, and centered yourself? That's the moment when peace starts to grow. It's in that space between the stimulus and your reaction that your power lies. The ability to remain calm in the face of adversity is a skill that must be developed. It's not something that comes naturally to most of us. Our minds are wired to react to stress, to fight against discomfort, and to protect ourselves from pain. But what if, instead of reacting, we chose to respond with a sense of calm, a sense of peace? What if, in the face of life's challenges, we chose to remain grounded, centered, and clear-headed? That is the true power of inner peace. It allows you to face the storms of life without being swept away by them. Inner peace doesn't mean that you won't feel anger, sadness, or frustration. Those emotions are part of being human. But when you cultivate inner peace, you begin to feel those emotions without being controlled by them. You acknowledge them, you experience them, and then you let them go. You don't allow them to dictate your actions or your state of mind. Instead, you choose how to respond. You choose to remain calm, no matter what life throws your way. We often imagine the worst-case scenario, and in doing so, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. We worry about things that haven't even happened yet, and we allow our minds to spiral into negativity. But when we practice inner peace, we learn to stop these spirals before they take over. We realize that most of the suffering we experience is self-created. By focusing on the present moment and controlling our responses, we can reduce that suffering and find peace. When we talk about mastering yourself, we're talking about developing the ability to control your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Self-mastery isn't about being perfect or never feeling upset. It's about recognizing that you have the power to decide how you respond to life's challenges. The more you practice this, the more you realize that nothing can disturb your inner peace unless you allow it. You become less reactive and more proactive, responding to situations with clarity and calm instead of getting caught up in the emotional whirlwind. This is the foundation of inner peace, the ability to respond to life from a place of centered strength. The key to cultivating inner peace is understanding that it's a process. It's not something you can achieve overnight. It's a practice, a daily commitment to showing up for yourself, to being aware of your thoughts and emotions, and to choosing how you react to the world around you. Each time you face a challenge and choose to remain calm, you build that inner strength. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. And over time, you begin to notice that you are less affected by external circumstances. You are less tossed around by life's ups and downs because you've built a solid foundation of inner peace. In a world that's constantly moving, constantly demanding more from us, it's easy to feel like we need to chase after something in order to find peace. We think that if we just achieve this one thing, everything will fall into place. But the truth is, peace is not something you chase. It's something you create within yourself. It's a practice of letting go of the need to control everything and instead focusing on controlling the one thing you can, your response. When you focus on cultivating peace within yourself, the outside world becomes less overwhelming. You stop reacting to every challenge, and you start navigating life with a sense of calm and clarity. The world will always be chaotic. There will always be challenges, frustrations, and disappointments, but your inner peace can remain constant, like an anchor in the storm. When you master yourself, you stop being a victim of your circumstances. You stop letting the world dictate your emotional state. Instead, you become the master of your own mind, your own emotions, and your own responses. And in that mastery, you find true strength. This is the power of inner peace. It allows you to remain grounded and strong, no matter what's happening around you. It's the greatest strength you can cultivate because it comes from within. When you learn to master yourself, everything else begins to fall into place. You stop chasing after external things for validation or happiness. Instead, you find fulfillment in the quiet strength that comes from within. That is the true power of inner peace. Remember, true strength doesn't come from changing the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within you. When you find peace inside yourself, nothing can shake you. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal today. If you're ready to continue this journey towards self-mastery and inner peace, check out one of the suggested videos on the screen. Let's keep building that strength together.